So welcome
to another episode
of the Lume Plotters.
Yes.
You're getting good at that.
I know.
After 350 million episodes.
We are on season 4 officially.
Yeah.
Which is, I just saw this when I posted the previous episode, and it's season 4, 2026. Yeah. Can you believe it? 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
I honestly couldn't believe that we are in our 4th year, that we're doing this.
And
years.
It just means we're old, I think.
Yeah, time flies. What to do.
And when everybody asks me, what on earth do you talk about?
I don't know.
Related to watches for 3 years, 52 episodes a year, each one over an hour. I have no idea.
No, but our listeners do actually, enjoy it. And we do seem to entertain quite a bit.
I think it's mostly my soothing voice.
Oh, okay. If that's
yes. I could be one of those audiobook reader guys.
for horror books or scream.
Yeah, you know those very sexy books, right?
These ones. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He threw her upon the couch.
Since you talked about age, I think that's also the topic of our episode today. What happens if a brand...
You get too old.
Yeah, if a brand owner or a brand that is named after the owner and it was founded by the owner and named after the owner retires.
Yes.
What to do?
But before we get into that, what are you wearing?
Oh, I'm wearing this fantastic PAM 352, that's Luminor, Panerai Luminor Marina 1950, blah, 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 Titanio, 3 days, whatever. Their longest name.
Yeah, do you still want to get the Blue Note?
Yeah, I still want to do the Blue Note. I have this on the green Artem strap.
I don't understand why. Why? The Blue Note is uglier than this one.
No, I don't know.
Okay, it's blue, but I think this one's a better watch. It's titanium.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe
Is the
not.
Blue Note also titanium?
No, it's steel.
Ooh, gross, steel. Peasant material.
It is just a normal steel. What can you do? But yeah, maybe I know.
So you want to get rid of this titanium?
This is the topic of a different episode. Is this like my never-ending thing that is always on my list, but I will never get it, or who knows, right? Because
I don't know.
I'm flip-flopping again at the moment between just being entirely happy with my collection and then thinking, oh, you know what, I should just sell a few things and buy something new. And then I decide, no, I shouldn't. And it's just back and forth. Terrible.
I still want to be a one-watch collection guy.
That would be so nice.
It will never happen, but in my mind, it could.
But I had this thought just this morning when I put up my Tudor Ranger from the bedside because I was wearing it yesterday, and I was thinking how much I enjoy wearing it basically the entire time at home. When I go out, I switch between different watches, but at home I mostly wore that watch for the last 1 or 2 weeks, and I thought, wow, this is such a nice watch, and I'm really enjoying it, and I don't need much more, actually, really.
Yes.
If I'm
so
honest.
Sell everything, keep your Tudor Ranger, and you'll be much, much richer.
Yes. I could do a lot with that money.
I bet you could. You could probably buy like a small house.
Yeah, I could do that. I could
an airplane, perhaps.
Many things.
A yacht.
Yeah. Private jet, no problem.
Yeah, anything you want.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I keep thinking about this, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
the problem is it might happen. It might happen for a few weeks, and then the itch starts to go again, and then you think, another 2-watch collection is also quite nice, and then it will spiral out of control very quickly, I think. So what are you wearing?
A watch that I rarely wear, yet not because it's I don't like it. It's just I always think twice, like, should I wear this watch? It is my Reverso. And I have zero interest in it, kind of selling it, getting rid of it, anything. It's just I don't wear it simply to kind of save save it as a special watch. I don't know. Maybe I should wear it more often. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a challenge sometimes with these watches that you think you need a special occasion for.
I think I need to baby it a little bit, but I don't know if I actually do. I mean, I don't know.
I always say like wear the hell out of the watch. I mean, look, I have my latest big ticket item edition was the AP, right? And I have managed to get a few more little scratches and dings in this watch, of course, because one, it's the size of a small submarine. And the other thing is, it's just, the way it works, right, with me. If I wear it then the entire day. And then, of course, I do things with it. And so I looked at it recently and thought, there's a few signs of use on it. And I'm not so sure if I like it too much, but there's nothing I can do about it. So
you don't like the watch or the signs of use?
No, the scratches.
I don't know if this was with you or we were at the Louis Vuitton event in Dubai Watch Week, and somebody was looking at my Reverso, and they turned it over. Was it with you? And there's a gigantic scratch like all along the backside. I don't know how well you could see it. It's from one. Okay. There it is. From literally one end to the other. Yeah, right in the middle. And somebody's like, what the hell was that? And then essentially I must have flipped it at some point, and there was like a piece of rock or some small debris in the case, and then just scraped it. But I don't care, frankly. I think what was frankly upsetting is that time we went to the JLC event where I don't even know what we did there, but we went to some JLC event. And then the watchmaker told me, wow, your watch looks brand new. And I'm like, but I've had it for like years. And so it means that it's too shiny. I need to be able to wear it and scratch it and scuff it and get it.
You should be not able to see your face in the back.
Yeah, exactly. But then that means I would have to be wearing it on the back as well, which I don't do.
That's true. Yeah, it's a bit.
I only wear it generally to tell time. I don't need to swap out my polo horses, so I don't need to,
I always
turn it over during my polo match.
Yeah, I always have these arguments when you said like then I can't read the time, because I still use my watch to tell the time all the time.
I mean, I do too. And the thing is, I like the idea of having to turn it over to tell the time. It's in in your mind. It's a small fantastic idea.
Yes, it's like
just swap it over, look at the time, and put it gently back. That's a really good idea. However, in practicality, you're carrying some stuff. You're wearing a long sleeve shirt with it. You just need it to poke out of your shirt just enough to get a glimpse of the time. You're not flipping anything over at that point.
Nah, that's true. But I think this is the discussion I always have with people who are saying like, oh, I never even set the date. I never set the time. I just wear it. Sometimes I wear watches that are not even working. And you think, I mean, it's fine. It's just a piece of jewelry, right? For most people. So that's totally okay. But that's not me.
I don't believe in it. I would always set the watch as well. Oh, fun fact. Speaking of scratches, I dropped the Pelagos.
And it still works.
It still works. It's holding perfect time. I made sure I was checking the timing against other, my phone or whatever. However, it landed. It was on a NATO strap. It landed on a lug. And now one of the lugs is misshapen. I don't really, I was a little bummed, but not hugely. So you could see that one lug is super straight and then the other one's kind of got a little dent in it.
Really?
Once the bracelet is on, you don't see it at all, right? Because your eyes, but on a NATO strap where all you see is the metal of the 4 lug points, and you have 3 straight lines, and one is like a wiggly line. You can tell it's a pretty big knock.
Man, yeah, that must have fallen quite a bit then.
It fell from about, I don't know, 1.5 meters. I dropped it, and it was entirely my fault. It was stupidity.
Yeah, these are the things that happen sometimes, right? These split seconds where you just have butterfingers, or just this is.
Yeah. I think I was swapping the strap. That's exactly what was happening. Is I was swapping the strap, and I thought I had a grip on it, and I didn't, and then it just fell out of my hand, and I was standing up as well. You know, like when you're like, I'm so cocky, I could change a strap standing up.
Yes, these are the things when you. I know. I recently just somebody asked me, hey, how do you change the bracelet on a Rolex, which with a tool that I recommended this tweezers, and I thought, you know what, let me just quickly do a small demo video, right? So I just put my camera on, made this small video of how to change the strap. Of course, I was a bit under time pressure, doing something else. I had a call waiting, and I was like, let me quickly do this. And of course, I scratched my lugs.
Well, I don't mind about scratch lugs. All of my lugs are so scratched. I don't care about that.
Yeah, but I scratched them from the underside because the spring bar popped out, and I scratched it on the not on the lower side. I mean, on the downside, but on the top. And that was just annoying. And I thought, this is the things that I always tell other people not to do. Do it with time,
Yeah.
Don't put it anywhere where it can fall down, because been there, done that, right? I have dropped certain nice watches of mine as well onto concrete and marble floor and all of the stuff, and that is just not cool. So just if you work on a watch, just make sure it, on a soft table.
And this is how, once again, I dropped my Speedy as well. And my wife was there. I dropped the Speedy. It landed crystal down. And my wife was like, oh, no. And I was like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I pick it up and the entire glass is shattered. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, just as a public service announcement, a PSA, if that happens and you shatter your watch crystal, the one thing you have to do immediately is pull the crown out.
Yes, I could do that on the Speedy without hacking seconds.
Oh.
Thank you for the top
Yes,
tip.
I forgot.
If you're about to get into a car accident, ladies and gentlemen, push your brakes.
Okay, sorry. And then that works. Usually you should stop the movement, because these little glass shards and
usually, yes, if it's a hacking movement.
Yeah.
This is not a hacking movement, so it just
then
keeps
you are
ticking.
out of luck. Then, yeah.
But it's also, you have to keep in mind, this is a plastic crystal. Plastic doesn't shatter.
Not as much.
It cracks. Not as much, exactly. So the likelihood of you getting stuff stuck in there is much, much less than if it was glass or sapphire.
Which is, by the way, the reason why it was the Hasselite crystal that actually, a plastic crystal that went to space. Because
exactly. It was one of NASA's requirements.
If a glass shatters in space and people actually breathe in maybe these things in zero gravity, they fly around and they could poke your eyes, they could get into your lungs, and could really cause so many issues, right? So it's really dangerous in space.
So I actually didn't think about that. I know that their big fear was that it would get into the instrument panels, and then they could do all kinds of damage in there as well. But the human factor as well is a huge question mark. Yeah, I
mean that you just had
especially in zero gravity, right?
Yeah, correct. That just at the International Space Station, the ISS, they had just had to not evacuate, but they had to cancel the mission a bit early because one of the astronauts fell sick, which is a bit rare because usually, I mean, there's no bacteria and all of the stuff up there except the ones that you bring with you, right? To a certain extent. But yeah, somebody managed to undisclosed what it was, but somebody fell a bit sick, so they had to go.
Interesting. I don't know if they must have taken it with them, I'm guessing. I don't know.
But the disease?
The virus. The diseases.
I don't know what it was. That's it could be something else.
Or which movie was it where the alien lived in the spaceship?
There's a few of them.
There's a few of them. Was it Space Odyssey was the one where there's an alien involved? I don't remember.
There's so many of these.
Yeah, they're
always very creepy.
Yeah.
But I like them.
Anyway, all right. So let's move on and we'll talk about today's topic. And as you said, the idea of succession, right? Yeah. You got a guy who is aging rapidly. And then he's going to, at some point, he has his name on a watch company. And then at some point, he's going to retire. Mm-hmm. And if the big question here is, if that guy's name is on the dial and somebody, we just interviewed Kerry Voutilainen, right? Kerry Voutilainen says so on the dial, Kerry Voutilainen. He retires. Yes. And Joe Schmo comes and buys his company or runs the company. He's not putting Joe Schmo on the dial, right? It's still going to say Kerry Voutilainen. But if he starts making changes, if he starts altering the way things were done, is it still a Kerry Voutilainen? Or in this case, is it XYZ, whatever brand we want to think of?
Yeah, this is a good question. So, from my perspective, there is the brand DNA has to be formalized, right? So somebody has to have done that exercise before, while it was still under the original owner or the original creator of this brand, and have distilled of what this brand stands for. Because otherwise you can't change it if there's nothing that that is not actually formulated to a certain extent or broken down to the essence, the mission statement of what this brand is about. And then when you have this, then you probably have a skeleton to work with. You can still change things over time because, the only constant in time is change, right? So you have to change at some stage, I guess, to accommodate sometimes a bit of the zeitgeist if that's needed. Other brands have shown that if you ignore the zeitgeist and trends, like Rolex, you can be just fine because
I just had a big conversation with somebody about this. I don't even remember who it was, but all of these other brands that are constantly trying to be at the helm of whatever new trend is coming, who was this with? I don't remember who I was talking to, but we're talking about downsizing. And, the current trend is watches are getting smaller. Mm-hmm. And Rolex is like, this watch has always been 30, the Datejust. It's been 36 millimeters. 100 years ago, it was 36 millimeters. Today, it's 36 millimeters. And the fact that they're so headstrong and that they're just like, you know what? This is what we do. I really admire them about that.
Yeah, because for them, it's just like, okay, the 36 is the core, right? They have smaller ones for ladies. They have also smaller ones for men, and they have bigger ones for men. But in the end, Rolex has decided that wrists don't actually change over the decades, right? Some people get a bit more bigger, but not necessarily. So generally, wrist sizes don't really change that much, right? Over the time, humans do not get bigger.
Yeah, we're not growing as a species by any chance. So in this case, but that's the thing is they said 36, but other brands on the other hand, who might have made 34, 35 millimeter watches back in the day, look at Patek. Mm-hmm. Do they make any 34 millimeter men's watches now? And that was the core of their men's collection back in the day. No, they don't make any now. They're all getting, I think a base Calatrava is now 37, 38. And they've gotten, and that's a small one, right?
Yeah, but to be honest, when you compare the wearing experience between a 37, 38 millimeter Patek and then the Datejust 36, I think you are probably looking at the same wearing experience.
Yeah, but look back at the 34, right? The old 34s, for instance.
They look, if you look at old movies and you see people wearing these very small, normal men's watches, it looks a bit funny for us now, right? Because it is something that was 40, 50 years ago was still normal. And now it looks like, well, it's a bit tiny, right? I was wondering sometimes how people were able to read the time. Right. But that's why you have these pilot watches and stuff. They are big. They were always big, right?
Yeah, they were always 40 millimeter plus.
Super legible.
But if you look at, for instance, Rolex versus Patek, 34 millimeters. Rolex had the Oyster Perpetual in 34 millimeters. I've tried that watch on a number of times, not the current one, the older ones, and they wear amazing. You'd be surprised that it's 34 millimeters because they have 20 millimeter lugs. They're wide, they're staunchy. It's almost like a maxi case. A Patek 34 millimeter probably has an 18 millimeter strap on it. It's extremely dainty and fragile, and the lug to lug is super short. And that is just feels different despite the fact that it is 34.
Exactly. But so coming back to the succession planning. So if you are selling your brand, and let's do some, I mean, I didn't throw it into AI, but I think there are a few examples we can come up with. So Christopher Ward, there was a person called Christopher Ward, but he's not anymore with Christopher Ward. Tom Ford in the fashion industry is not anymore with Tom Ford. So
yes,
there's a couple of these. Karl Lagerfeld doesn't live anymore, so but his brand is still there, Karl Lagerfeld. What do I, that's in the watch world?
There's a bunch. Think about Louis Vuitton. He was a guy.
True.
Think about who else?
Christian Dior. Is he still around? I don't know.
I don't even know who Christian
Yves Saint
Dior
Laurent is he still around?
Yves Saint Laurent. Yeah. So there's quite a few. So, but within the watch, let's talk watches. Let's move away from fashion.
Okay.
Let's talk about watches. These names, because in watches it's written on the dial, right? And that's kind of the big thing. So the reason we're talking about this is because today we have another one of our interviews that Ralph did by himself. Mm-hmm. I was absent for this one, but he interviewed. Yeah, I know. Some of us had work. Yeah. So you interviewed a good friend of ours, right?
Yes. Wonderful person.
From Laurent Ferrier. So the idea was, what was his name again? Our good friend? Robert Bailey. That's what his name was. I forgot. So it was only Robert Bailey this time. There was no Ferriers involved.
No.
Because last time we had Ferrier, but not the Ferrier.
Christian Ferrier was I think as well there, but I only had the interview with Robert. Yeah.
With Robert.
Yeah.
So last time, if you guys remember from 2 years ago, we interviewed them as well. We had Christian Ferrier with us, who is the son of Laurent Ferrier.
Brother.
And brother?
Son?
Brother. Okay. A relation in the family tree.
Damn.
And Robert, and he didn't speak English very well. So Robert Bailey was his translator, as well as he is what is his official position at Laurent Ferrier?
I don't know exactly. I think he's
the head of doing things at times. I don't know what he does. I think he's a head of marketing and sales or something like this.
No, he's the son. You're right.
I was right. Christian. In your face, Ralph.
In my face. I say mea culpa.
Yes. Now, did you figure out who Robert Bailey, Laurent Ferrier? We are very well prepared. Well, head of sales.
Yeah. He did that. Yeah, that. You
head
didn't
of
ask me
sales.
what Robert Bailey is doing. Robert Bailey, yeah, he's head of sales, but he's also a wonderful brand ambassador, of course.
Yeah, he is, and I have to say, single-handedly, he was the one that turned me on to.
Yeah,
the brand, right?
Just talking to him for now in total maybe 1.5 hours that we've spoken with him over the years, just is enough for both of us to be fans of the brand.
It is.
And of course, it helps that they're doing extremely amazing watches.
Yeah. I mean, once again, Laurent Ferrier came from Patek, right? He left Patek to start his own brand. So he's not exactly a no one when it comes to watches, right? But the guy is now 76 years old. He's still the namesake of the company. He's still working at the company.
Yeah.
His son is taking over a lot of, the day-to-day, the designing aspect and stuff like this.
His son is basically the head of patrimony and what else. I think he's working in the creative department. But this company also, there's of course, there's other owners involved as well. So it's always a challenge, to see who's going to lead this company. And maybe some people
that's the question.
Want to do this. Maybe Christian takes over. We don't know. This is something we really don't know. We will see if Laurent is retiring, of what is going to happen. That will be in the news whenever it happens.
Yeah. So this is the question: is a Laurent Ferrier watch without Laurent Ferrier still a Laurent Ferrier?
See, yeah, and that's what I mentioned before with the brand DNA. Obviously, every new owner of a brand, and this is when we have another interview with another person who's taking over a brand, right? Even if it doesn't have the name necessarily of a person on it, wants to establish themselves, right? I mean, if when George Kern took over IWC, did we see different watches from IWC? Yes and no. But IWC still stayed IWC. I mean, sometimes you can see, for example, in Panerai, you can see, oh, these watches came out during the reign of CEO XYZ, right? Pre-Vendôme, whatever, or you have these other ones where, oh, this is the time when Julien Ternare was there. So sometimes CEOs can leave a bit of a footprint on the brand, but the general Panerai identification is still there.
But there's there are options. There are times when this doesn't happen. So look at Breitling. I would argue that when the other George, whose last name I've forgotten as well, what was his name?
The other George?
Yeah. Isn't he also George? George the Breitling CEO. What's his name?
You don't mean the Schneiders?
Kern, no? Right? No, you said George Kern.
George Kern, who was with IWC, and then now it's Breitling.
No, with Breitling. Oh, we're talking about the same guy. Oh, I didn't know he had IWC before this.
Yeah, he was.
Really? Yeah, he was. Okay, well, that's news to me. Thanks for filling me in.
You learned something.
I was like, George, isn't this George Kern? But anyway, I was going to talk about him as well. I argue that he did change Breitling, and not for the better.
Who? George Kern?
Yeah. His first thing he did was he removed the wings on the B logo, and for that I already hate him. Then he started, making everything not chronographs, and then like the identity of Breitling is gone. There is no. I look at a Navitimer now. Today's Navitimers look like absolute garbage. They do not look like the old Navitimers, and it's just I don't like it.
There's a couple of things you have to admit, right? I mean, look, they did extend, let's say the Navitimer family from just a few pieces, a few different models, to a whole range of things. You have female models which are time only, you have male models that are time only, and of course, a whole idea of a Navitimer that is just time only is a bit weird. But this iconic design, I guess they thought we can exploit this a bit more, create more bigger range of watches.
If you look at the Navitimer, the current Navitimer with the chronograph, it just doesn't look right. Like, I don't know what it is, the proportions, the colors.
You think so? I think the normal Navitimer,
especially that blue one that they made. So if you look at current Navitimer, I will, and they're freaking. The fact is, and I'm just, I'm upset.
Are you looking at Breitling?
The fact is, you look at these prices, and I'm just like, geez, Louise, like, what on earth have they done?
So the average price of a Breitling is now 7,000 or 8,000 Swiss francs.
I know. I'm looking at here. Navitimer BO1, 41,000 dirhams. So this is the one I'm talking about. I will, and this is a regular, how do I share my screen? There it is.
So, coming back to this, what George Kern did in his time is, I think he tripled the revenue of Breitling. So he did something pretty amazing.
This has nothing to do with success. But here you go. Look how ugly that is.
I think it is a very strong measure of success if you actually sell more stuff. So that's for a company that is in the business of selling things.
So
it's pretty good to sell more things.
If you're a company, generally they do like selling things. However,
they like making money.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to look it up, this is the Navitimer BO1 Chronograph 43 that I was showing Ralph. And I don't know what color it is.
But
what color was it?
doesn't it look
Blue?
exactly like the old ones? The
It does
B01
not.
chronograph.
No.
I
The
think it
whole rotating bezel,
Yeah.
essentially now they color coded the bezel. So before, I think regardless of what color it was, Breitling,
I think you have to look at the cosmonaut, for example, or the
the
Navitimer
cosmonaut
that
is
is the
essentially just a
24-hour
Navitimer,
one.
but essentially they have tried to color code the slide rule bezel. Before it was, I guess it looks similar.
It looks. I think
I
it
think they
looks
dumbed
still
it down a
pretty
lot.
similar. But what I want to say,
Let me show you this.
Well, you're right.
Hold on.
If you go
here,
to
I'm going
the
to show you something. Okay.
collection, you can see that it's 47 different models now. That is quite a lot.
It's a lot of models.
That is definitely something we can agree on.
Look at how much data there used to be. They used to have the kilometers, the miles an hour, this time bezel. So there was 1, 2, 3 rings of information in the slide rule bezel. Okay. Or in and around that you're supposed to use with the slide rule bezel. In the new one, they've done away with most of that information. So you have a tachymeter scale now, which in the past, I don't even know if you had. You have the kilometers, which is essentially, I don't know.
You still have kilometers and miles, so miles per hour and kilometers per hour. So that's something you still can do.
But what about these times? I don't know what these times do. 110, 120, 130, 140. I don't know what those were, but that's gone now.
I think that was just like fuel levels, I think, in the planes. So you can do some conversions there.
But this
it was used by pilots, right?
I mean, great looking watch.
That was the whole idea, that it was used by pilots to do certain calculations with a slide rule, right? And of course, that is not something you would do, and then I guess nowadays, but there is still nautical mile statistical stuff. You can still do some slide rule stuff with it, but it's a bit less than it used to be. I agree with that.
Yeah. So in all of the models, they have removed these calculations, and then you don't even get me started on the three-hander, which doesn't make any bit of sense. So So yes, he did a lot in terms of making money for the company, but he lost the identity of the company.
I don't think he lost the identity. I do think it is, when you look at the Zwing logo now, that you still have on the Navitimer. It's a different one though, but it is, I think, one of the, how do you say that? One of the classic ones. Yeah, I think with the logos, I'm also there with you. I feel I am very happy with my Super Ocean from 2009, still having the winged bee logo, even though it's a Super Ocean.
Yeah.
Because that was just the logo, right? There was no different logos for different areas of watches, because why would you have different logos for different watches if it's your brand logo, right?
Sense.
But
the Rolex doesn't use different
also
logos
historic.
for different things. Rolex isn't using different logos for different things, right?
Well, you could sometimes argue that it's not a different logo, but it's differently made.
Applied,
it's not applied,
painted, whatever. It's still the coronet at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you don't have to be always Rolex. But coming back to you're right. So a new leader comes in, a new CEO, and of course he transforms the company to a certain extent. I think with George Kern, because he's also an owner of Breitling, so it's now a bit different. He's not just a hired CEO. He also owns a very major stake in the company, right? So he has influence and ownership of the brand and the future brands in the house of brands that he has, Gaillet and Universal Genève. So there's a lot of things that he does. And he has, I guess, all the rights to do that to a certain extent. Willy Breitling is not, for a long time, not around anymore, right? So he's... I think it was Willy.
He would be rolling in his grave.
Maybe, but maybe he would also be proud. We don't know, because that's always we always assume when when people who did certain things during their tenure, that they always would continue to do exactly the same thing. But sometimes I'm not so sure. But like the discussions we had with some people, with Kari Voutilainen, for example, when we discussed this, saying like, will you ever use and I think I had this discussion also with Roger Smith. He said, I think it was Roger Smith. Would you ever use a silicon hairspring in your watches? And Roger Smith said, no, never. It's not going to happen. And I thought, okay, would Abraham Louis Breguet have used the cutting edge of technology at the time? Because he did at the time use cutting edge technology during his tenure. Would he not use that if he could get better precision and accuracy and all of his stuff out of his watches? And he, I think, basically said, and that's something, I mean, you have to listen to it in the interview, but where Roger Smith is saying, I'm making watches for not just a generation. I want to have a watch that can be repaired in 100 years' time. And you can't do that with silicon hairspring watches. You need to have a specific silicon hairspring, and that usually can only be provided by the manufacturer. And then you have that's not the repairability that he wants, right? And I can respect that. There's a good reason. But on the other hand, we don't know if Breguet would have used the modern technology.
Yeah, of course. But anyway, right? The point of the story is, by the way, Breguet's name is still on his company, right? That's another one.
Yes, you're right. Yes, Breguet.
So anyway, all right, let's see. So the question today is, is this a big deal? We have no answer for it, right? There's tons of companies that have successfully gone on and kept the name of a founder, and look at Mr. Rolex, right?
Yeah, Mr. Porsche.
Yeah, Mr. Hans Wilsdorf. No, he never had his name on anything, but except for his foundation, which is still alive and well and making billions and billions of Swiss francs, all tax-free, courtesy of his foundation. Yeah. We won't get into, tax evasion or anything like that on this channel, but the fact that it is a nonprofit organization raises a few question marks for me personally.
No, Rolex still pays taxes, but not the owning company doesn't. So Rolex.
This is what I'm saying is, remember, if you are under one roof, the owning company, Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, gets tax deductions, essentially, right? Where are those deductions coming out of?
But they also have to pay. They have to be charitable, so that means that they still have to spend the money.
Yes, you still have to spend money.
Themselves and just true. We are charitable.
I'm very curious as to if it's truly $1 for $1, a franc for a franc.
We don't know.
We don't know. We have no idea. But whenever I see these mega conglomerate, in the US, we had these with churches. There was always, because churches were nonprofit, and these guys, they would have literally like an old like football stadium, and they'd be like, yeah, it's our church. And then you'd have like a yacht, and you'd be like, yeah, the yacht is for the church. It's so people could come on board and praise.
We are trying to fish people, missionize.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
in order to be in many places in a reasonable amount of time, I need multiple private jets.
Of course.
One is always, fueled up and waiting for me to jet to the next church.
While the other one is currently being fueled up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I can't wait while one's.
It's not luxury. It's just a necessity. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So that's the question. So anyway, long story short, there's been both success and failures when it comes to these renamings or keeping the old name, I should say. But Laurent Ferrier is eventually going to have to go down the same path, and what will happen, no one knows. But let's listen to.
I think the nice thing is that we have, and you hear this in the interview, of course. Laurent Ferrier is alive and kicking still, while he's probably eyeing his retirement. There is obviously something that he still has laid down for his company and his employees, and what he wants the company to do, and how he thinks that should be done. I mean, how things are done in the watches themselves. And this is some of the details that you will see, from the hands to the dials to other things. I mean, how they do things is very, very special. And you will see that in the interview and in what we are going to talk about with Robert Bailey. And yeah, I think they will be fine. And they will still be on my list of watches that I someday want to have one.
So I'm still waiting on them to go down in price for some reason. So, on the secondhand market, and I would love to have one as well, but I'm not going to have one for $30,000 US. I don't think. But if one came around for $10,000 US, would I sell my Explorer for a Laurent Ferrier? Probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. If I have a $10,000 watch sitting there, any of my $10,000 watches, I would probably sell and get a Laurent Ferrier.
Yeah,
out of it, right?
If there is a chance at some stage for me to swap an AP or the Vacheron, or even the Vacheron I really like, but maybe some
the
other
AP
watch.
You could. That's you're talking right around the same price point. But once again, you have to think, like, are you a dress watch guy? And all of these Laurent Ferriers are very dressy, and that becomes an issue.
Lovely bracelet watches. I mean, with the steel bracelet.
They do, but they all have date windows.
Yeah. And this cleverness of the date window being so slightly curved downwards, right?
Yeah, and it's got that line coming off of it as well. Yeah. So it's a very good looking design.
And you know what the genius thought about this is? I think it's in an interview, but I'm not 100% sure.
What is this?
For the light to hit the date window. So it's not like this tunnel where the light can throw a shadow.
Oh, yes. You mentioned this before to me. Yeah.
So it's like, this little sliding thing there. And it's just like, it's really thought through.
Who thinks about this? Like, this is ridiculous.
It's lovely, these little things.
It is. Right? It is in theory. Yeah. So,
okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the interview without me. And you'll just listen to Ralph's soothing voice.
Laurent Ferrier and Robert Bailey, of course.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
We are here today with Laurent Ferrier. Please introduce yourself if you like.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Bailey. I'm the head of sales here at Laurent Ferrier. So delighted to be here with Ralf and Carl to talk about Laurent Ferrier and take you through a few of our watches.
Yeah, I have a fellow member of the Caliber Watch Club with me, Carl, who is here for purely financial reasons because he wants to have a watch, right?
I try to. So hi from my side.
Not financial reasons, sorry. He really is a big fan of the brand. And is
I'm begging for one later.
We've come to the right place.
All right, wonderful. So, how's business for Laurent Ferrier?
Good. Overall good. I mean, obviously, as everybody is aware, there's been a few big geopolitical movements that have impacted the watch brand, and hopefully everything is kind of going in the right direction, and namely that the American tariffs will come down. I think the Swiss government is pretty close to kind of sealing that deal, and I think that will kind of restabilize obviously a big region that's important for us. So that's been a big relief. But then in the rest of the world everything is ticking over well. It's the market has changed, but we're quite happy about that actually, because a couple of years ago we had about a 2-year wait list.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to be close to our customers. We like to make you guys happy.
Yeah.
And 2 years of wait list is a frustration. It's a frustration for us. It's a frustration for you. And now we're kind of closer to 6 months, maybe on some models even a little bit less.
And that's lovely.
And that's great, because then the excitement of kind of making the decision to buy a piece, and then the piece arrives relatively soon afterwards. I think it's a nicer process for everybody. So
it's long enough to have a pretty substantial anticipation period. We're still getting more and more excited, but it's not dying down. Because you're right. Two years is a bit long.
Yeah,
but it's lovely if it's shorter.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, just regarding sales and customers. So where are your customers mainly located? In Asia, US, I guess, right?
So the US is our biggest single market in terms of percentage. country. So yeah, we're a bit over 20%.
Okay.
Yeah. So for
substantial.
the country of the United States. In terms of regions, Asia is the biggest. That's about half of our business. But that includes like Japan, Hong Kong, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and Kuala Lumpur. So it's quite a big region. There's quite a lot of stores there, and that's about half of our business. And then the rest is basically Europe and the Middle East, which is roughly half between the two regions.
So for our listeners, how would you explain the style of Laurent Ferrier?
So basically, I mean, I think if you meet the man himself, then you really understand where the style has come from, and it's basically all about kind of, understated luxury, looking after the small details, being passionate about these small details that don't jump out at you. They're not things that that come to you obviously, but once you start to dig, once you start to look closely, when you listen to the man talk and explain kind of his ideas and what he was thinking about when he designed a piece, then you understand what he was trying to do. He came out with a quote, which he says he doesn't think is his, but he says that a good design is not complete when you can't add anything more. A good design is only complete when you can't take anything more away. And so it's all about basically less is more, and just simplicity, and Laurent, it's the small things. He's always talking about balances and harmonies of colors and things like that. And I think the classic Origin that we launched on the 19th here in Dubai, I think is a great example. I mean, it's Origin watch which has been on the market since 2020. We have a titanium case with a white dial and a gradient blue dial, and this is the first time we put it into a gold case. And I think just the choice of the color of the dial. It's not quite beige, it's not quite champagne, it's kind of somewhere a little bit in between the two. And this creates this very nice harmony between the case color and the dial. You have enough contrast that the indexes and the hands stand out, so it's legible. And then it's only a small thing, but this kind of rich, almost chocolate brown color strap, I think just ties it all together. And can they give you something?
It's a very pleasant looking watch.
Yeah,
it just looks very pleasing. And what I particularly like a lot, it's probably because I'm already half a decade old. So it's how did I say half a decade? No, I mean half a century.
I'm not far behind you.
So my eyesight gets a bit not as good as it used to be, and I love watches that I can read without my glasses, right? So, and what I find, the function is always there with Laurent Ferrier. I mean, with the railroad track and the hands really touching it, you can read the time very precisely and very easily. And that really helps, I think, a lot to like a watch immediately. You think, wonderful. I particularly also like the shape of your hands that I find extremely elegant. And I wonder why not more companies copy them, but it's really, really beautiful.
I can tell you why. Patterns? No. So basically
so hard to make.
Exactly. The shape of the hand. So in particular, the hour hand, it has this bulbous, or to put it more crudely, like this fat end, and basically a thin stem that connects it to the axis of rotation. Basically means that you can't cut it by laser. So 99.9% of the hands today are cut by laser, and then they're rounded and polished off. But because of the shape of our hands, we have to basically make them using a metal press. So you have to stamp them with a metal press.
Right.
So the end result of all of this is that they cost about 15 to 20 times more than normal hands cost.
All right.
In the overall price of a watch, it's not a big deal. But I think it's a nice example of where we haven't compromised, or we haven't. Laurent has not compromised, and he's really pushed it as far as he can to get the effect that he wanted. So
sometimes that it shows.
Yeah.
Right? If you spend the money and the effort on the details, it does show that.
Yeah.
And you appreciate these. I didn't even know why I appreciated them so much, but now that makes sense, right? It's the expense or the extra care that others are not willing to do.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
And also the man has such a rich knowledge of of different materials and different processes and different techniques. For me, it's an honor to work next to the man, just because he amazes me. I've been working with him for 4.5 years, and I'm still regularly I find it incredible the things he knows. like our classic auto. So basically, the dial color here is actually silver. So
Really?
you're both looking at it and you're like, yeah, it's blue.
It's light blue, and I love blue. Blue is just my favorite watch color.
Yeah, so it's actually, the blue color comes from a lacquer that is on top.
Okay.
And the reason that the dial has been constructed in that way is that the vertical satin finishing is more pronounced. So basically, if you, these are all things that obviously I'm repeating that that Laurent has told me. But basically, if you put the color directly onto the dial, the vertical satin finishing is less pronounced. But if you do it with the silver dial, then you get the contrast, the little shadow between the ridges, and then you apply the lacquer on top for the color, and then they stand out more. So I think it's this huge knowledge that he has about all these little techniques that he can play with to get these effects that on their own don't seem that important, but when you put them all together, I hope that the sum of all these details gives you something special.
Yeah, it really looks very impressive, I must say. Yeah, it's very nice. One of my favorite watches is my Vacheron Constantin, and you're wearing the dual time now, Carl, at the moment, also with the blue dial, which has this deep lacquer.
Wrist brothers.
But that's really fascinating, and I like light blue as well. It's a beautiful color for watch dial. Now that's fascinating. How does Laurent see utilizing modern innovative technologies like let's say a silicone hairspring or other things like that? Is he like a traditionalist there, or does he say no? Whatever helps me achieve, let's say, accuracy, other things I'll do.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of both. So in terms of, overall, very, very traditional in terms of the kind of the decorating, the assembly, the testing, the prototyping of all of our watches. It's done in a very, very traditional way.
Yeah.
Nothing is automated. Everything is done by hand. A team of decorators doing the Côte de Genève, doing the internal angles, all the ombrage, all this stuff has all been done by hand, by people, perlage.
Yeah.
It's not automated, which also limits our production. The question we get quite often, are you going to increase production? The answer is no, or possibly slightly, but even if we wanted to, we have the constraint of basically hiring and training the decorators, to the level that we have today. It's a challenge. So we couldn't just press on a button and increase our production by 50%, in 6 months because we can't find the people.
Absolutely, and even if you do, you have to then train them on your specific way of how to do things. And I know watchmakers are very particular.
Yeah,
Philippe Dufour has tried so many times to have apprentices. He failed for decades. He always just threw them out again. But Philippe Dufour said something very interesting, and I think that totally applies to Laurent Ferrier as well. When he said many years back, when he was not that known outside the watching bubble, more or less, that people who buy his watches buy them for themselves. Because nobody will see somebody on the street and say like, "Oh, look, you're wearing a Philippe Dufour," because nobody knows me. That was back then.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years ago, 20 years, I think, when he said this in a TV interview. And I think this is a bit the same for the mainstream person. Doesn't know about Laurent Ferrier yet, maybe. But if you know, you know, obviously. But what you do see is a very, very beautiful watch, right? And I like that people have these kind of brands and wear them or buy them for themselves because of the appreciation for the craftsmanship there. And I think Dieter Rams said something similar to Laurent Ferrier about this. This was a very famous designer of electronic products and shavers, and he was very, Braun, the company? And he was their designer who also had the 10 principles of good design.
Okay.
And one of them is that you remove functions as much as you can, and you have the product explain itself.
Okay.
So you don't have to, tell people what it does. Really, it's self-explanatory to a certain extent. So this dial is the automatic version. This is with a micro rotor.
That's right.
Yeah. So wonderful, beautiful movement.
So I think, to answer your previous question. So, the exception that we have to, the traditional rule is the natural escapement microrotor.
Mm-hmm.
So there basically it's Breguet's natural escapement. So Breguet made it with gold, and basically wasn't very stable. So gold being a soft metal, things would deform, and the movement wouldn't run properly. So basically, we took Breguet's design. Basically, we use kind of nickel phosphorus escapement wheels, which are much more solid, with a silicon lever, which is auto lubrifying, in order to stabilize it and make it work. So I think that's quite a nice example of using basically a very old technology, a couple of 100 years old, and using modern materials to basically stabilize it and basically make it work. Work properly. So that brings us back to the Swiss lever escapement auto one that we have here on the tray. So we have it in the classic auto, but we have the same movement in the sport auto with a different kind of finishing. And so this movement was basically developed to put it into a sports watch, because we thought the natural escapement is perfectly suited to everyday use. But with a sports watch, people are going to do crazy things, things that you shouldn't do with watches. Everybody knows, but people still do them. So basically, we wanted to make something that was really, really tough. And so we went back to the Swiss lever for that one, put it through all the tests at the Laboratoire Dubois. And we were very, very pleased with the results. So you can tell the difference. Basically, if you have a platinum rotor, it's a Swiss lever. If you have a gold rotor, it's the natural escapement.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the reason we have a platinum rotor is actually functional. So we wanted 72 hours of power reserve on both. So the natural escapement is more efficient. So that we achieve. Normally you'd have 45 to 50 hours on the micro rotor. So thanks to the natural escapement, which is more efficient, we get 72. And in the auto movement, we have a longer barrel spring. And as we have that longer barrel spring, we needed a rotor with more mass to wind it up, which is why it's platinum.
Right. A bit heavier. I think once I was not very knowledgeable about the finishing processes and how much you can identify when you actually loop your own watch. After I watched a very interesting video from Tim Mosso, who explained how you can see if something is just machine finished, then machine finished, and then a bit taken care of by hand or fully made by hand, and how some easy indications of how you can see where some shavings go off with the loop, or if you see where it ends and where it happens. Exactly. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. So I, of course, then took my loop to my watch collection and was terribly disappointed to learn a couple of watches that I thought were so brilliantly finished to the naked eye. Under the loop, I figured out, there is actually not much hand finishing existing. And of course, you won't find this on a Laurent Ferrier. Everything is hand finished. But it does show when you really, really look into the details of the watch, right?
I mean, I think finishing is one of our our kind of main points of difference. One of the things that we focus on the most, and I think we put so much effort into it that we even include a loop in the box when you buy the watch, So
that shows confidence.
I'm trying, obviously, in the line of the discretion of the brand, maybe not use confidence, but it's really, we focus really, really hard on finishing. And actually, there's a customer that says something that I quite like a couple of months ago. He said that you, Laurent Ferrier, are almost turning finishing into a complication. Which I quite liked.
That's a good way to say that. But I find it fascinating with, especially with mechanical watches, when I talk to friends and family that are not in the watch game at all, and they're wearing a mechanical watch, and sometimes I get these questions like, so what can you tell me about my watch? And you tell them, and it could be as easy as a Tissot PRX, for example. And you tell them about the history of the movement, that it evolved from the ETA 2824 and improved. Now you have 80 hours of power reserve, and how the technology was developed. Very basic, of course, machine made. Everything is mass produced. But however, that this little engine that ticks in your watch for many, many years, maybe decades, sometimes even without a service for a while, right? And how complicated that actually is to produce. And it runs.
Yeah.
And you do all of the things you do with this watch. As you said, sometimes people maybe are not supposed to do certain things with the watch. They do.
They do.
And they appreciate it so much more the watch they already have, because they just understand, oh my goodness, yeah, that's actually quite remarkable.
Yeah.
And I think this is what drives us to this hobby. And you wanted to say something about the tourbillon just now.
Yeah, that's an amazing watch, because you do not see the tourbillon itself. You see it in the back. And that is, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that you had with, I think, last year with your sport model as well, right?
Yes, I mean our very first watch was a classic tourbillon with the tourbillon on the back.
Yeah.
So that was the very first watch we ever produced, and I think it links a bit to what you were saying previously about the watches for you. It's I mean it's a question. It's probably the question we get the most often, actually. It's like, well, why isn't the tourbillon visible from the front? I quite like Laurent's answer to this. He says, well, if you have the tourbillon visible on the front, when you look at the watch, all you see is the tourbillon.
Yes.
It's like the rest of the dial, you can do anything with it. Like, nobody will even look at it. Like, only look at the tourbillon. Yeah. And he says, anyway, it's not a problem. He's like, if you want to look at the tourbillon, you take your watch off and you pan it over and you look, it's there. So I think, he has this philosophy of basically keeping the aesthetic world and the mechanical world separate. To keep the beauty of the dial, the balance, the simplicity, the elegance of the dial whole. Obviously, you have the mechanical world on the back, which you can look at, obviously by taking the watch off and turning it.
Yeah, I think we've had this discussion, like in all watch enthusiast forums. There's always 5 opinions of 3 people, right?
Yeah.
But we have the apologists for closed case bags always say, yeah, well, nobody will see it except the wearer when you take it on and off, which is exactly the point.
Yeah.
You can still see it if it's your watch.
Yep.
Right. But yeah, I really like this, but because you're right, it's because of the movement and so much that's going on in the tourbillon, in the cage. Obviously, your eye is drawn to all that movement that happens in there. The whirlwind.
Well, this is my theory. This is not coming from Laurent himself, but Laurent is a big fan of pocket watches. So his father had a pocket watch repair shop in Geneva, and basically, so Laurent grew up basically with around pocket watches. His father working on these pocket watches, and the idea was that Laurent would take over this repair shop from his father. But unfortunately, his father became ill with polio before Laurent was old enough to take over, and so he sold the store. And Laurent went to do his apprenticeship at Patek Philippe, and I think most people know the rest of the story. There, but the tourbillon in pocket watches was not a complication. It was just a functional element to make the watch keep time properly, because it was always in the vertical position.
In your vest pocket.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so the tourbillon wasn't visible. And I think basically subconsciously that kind of design aesthetic from pocket watches has basically filtered through into his wristwatches, which I think you can see also in the very round shape of the case, the onion crowns, the shape of the hands. I think all of this is very pocket watch DNA that is kind of translating through to the wristwatches.
Yeah, and I particularly like here with the tourbillon watch that we are seeing here, and this is you do have mostly precious metal cases, right? Not all, but
so we have general guidelines, and there's always exceptions to those. Right. So I mean, the tourbillon, the one that you're holding there, is our Série Atelier. So it was the one for basically every year at Geneva Watch Days, we launch a small series of watches that we sell directly. So
all right.
Pretty much, I mean, almost all of our production we sell through our retail partners. They're very, very supportive of us, and so basically, we loyal back to them. We don't try and sell behind them. We go through our distribution partner. But once a year, we do these limited editions, basically, so that we have a bit of contact with end customers and we can get a bit of feedback on the products that we're making. So this is this year's version. So this one is in a platinum case, and then the other 2 ones that are part of the collection are in a white gold case and in a rose gold case. But then you have things like our classic moon. So there is a steel case in that one. So it's an annual calendar moon phase. One is in a steel case, which maybe is a little bit surprising. But that kind of that's the type of watch, I guess, will usually appear more often in a precious metal case, and obviously there's a rose gold alternative as well. So it's a bit of a mix. Yeah, it's
Lovely. I think I shouldn't just show this watch to my wife. She loves Roman numerals. Because usually you have indices, right? Just indices, and this is with the Roman numerals, very nicely elongated. They look very, very elegant. They basically look like indices from a distance.
Yeah, because that's how they've been narrowed.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. It's a very nice detail as well. So what's the percentage of the sporty watches with bracelets versus your more dress style watches that you have?
I mean, so it's one thing. I mean, we've all worked very, very hard to build up the collection over the years. And so in 2022, when we launched the Sport Auto, we were very, very flattered, but it went crazy. Like the demand on that watch was, we've never experienced anything like that in the history of our company in terms of, the interest. And this is when this 2-year wait list that we were talking about earlier appeared from. So but we wanted to protect the rest of the collection and not become a one watch brand.
Yeah.
And so we limited the production of the Sport model to a quarter of our overall production.
Okay.
Yeah. So we make around 500 watches a year. So the Sport Auto, the titanium version, and the gold version combined, we make about 120 of those together.
Yeah. See, these are the numbers where we just think, oh wow, that's lovely. You're very, one of not many, or very rare. That's two other brands I've said. Anyway. So that's really very specific. So your overall production in the year is
it's about 500 pieces.
500 pieces.
Yeah. So it's basically roughly a quarter of the sports models, a quarter of the automatics. So that's the micro, the natural escapement, and the Swiss lever escapement. A quarter of the origins, and then a quarter of what we call the complications. So tourbillon, dual time zone GMT, and the Anglo-Caledonian face, the classic.
Ah, wonderful. Yeah, I can only say, like, okay, this is really has been a wonderful showcase of what's new and what you have in the collection at the moment, and the background of Laurent Ferrier. Thank you so much, Robert. But before we go, where is the entry price level if people are thinking, wow, this sounds really nice? Where can I get in? So, and what's like your average selling price roughly?
So basically, our entry price is our classic origin in the titanium case. So that's at 33,000 Swiss francs. So that's our entry price. And basically, we've been kind of like scratching our heads, like, do we try and make a cheaper watch? But we can't actually do it. Like, the classic origin is basically as simple as we can get. And if we want to, keep the same finishing standards, we can't go any lower. So we'd have to compromise on basically, our quality levels in order to be able to go lower. We don't make crazy margins either. It's not that that's driving it. It's and then basically our average retail price is 57,000 Swiss francs.
Right.
Yeah. So the range is from 33,000 for the origins up to 225,000 for the Sport Auto in gold. So the Grand Sport will be in gold. Which was a limited edition of 24 pieces that we launched 7 years ago. Which is not this one. This one is the Sport Auto.
Yeah, we were just looking at, for the listeners, we're looking at a solid rose gold sports watch, which weighs a lot.
Yeah.
It's very substantial. Excellent. Time is unfortunately run out, but thank you so much. I still have questions, but we will have that in the next interview then. Thank you so much, Robert.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.